Sure, yeah. Yeah, I'll sing along. Yeah, okay, great. Thank you. Ready for a new group? Sure.
Good morning, everyone. We can also say Shabbat Shalom. It's so exciting. I know we're starting to do a little bit, but it's still so great to be together in a crowd. And I'm so happy to welcome you to Temple Micah. I'm Rabbi Adam Morris, and on behalf of myself and Hal Aqua, our musician in residence, welcome to everyone, those who are here physically in person, those who are joining us out on wherever you are sitting from streaming. We're so happy as you can be with us as we're here to celebrate Shabbat and celebrate with Jonah as he becomes a bar mitzvah. So as you're here, and I'm not going to assume you may know what we do or how we do it, let me kind of set you up so you can get the most out of our time together this morning. We are here together. I know we're here to celebrate for Jonah, but this is our community's communal prayer time. And so we come to this time together to be prayerful, to find that time and space to, take a break from the world, to get some perspective on it. Maybe that's so we can be appreciative and grateful for the blessings we know. Maybe there's something or more than one thing out there that's stressing us and giving us anxiety, and it's a time to get some perspective, some grounding, and some connectedness. So we come here for this time and place to be together and to be prayerful in that way. Whatever that means for you, whatever that means to be quiet, reflective. And the way you're going to honor Jonah most this morning is by doing that. Because he hasn't prepped today to do a dog and pony show and dance and perform for us. No, he's doing this adult sacred task of leading our communal prayer service so that we can have this time. So you honor him by having this time yourselves. Now, so just in case, let's make sure those things that could get in the way of your doing so won't. And in 2021, that's our phones. So please make sure that your phones are not going to ring or buzz or be distracting to you or anyone else during the service this morning. And in addition to that, don't use your phones, or if you even have an old school camera, to take pictures during the service, because I'm inviting you to be here, be present, to participate, not be a spectator. So you can take all the photos you want of Jonah when we're done. He'll happily smile and do whatever you want for the pictures, but right now, we're in our sacred space. We're in our community this morning. And so then, how do we do what we do? How do you participate? Well, to a certain extent, being prayerful for you is very personal, what that looks or feels like, and I'm going to trust you to do that on your own way, to make time within our space to do that. But there are ways that communally we help create that space. There are English meditations we'll read together, so read with us. There are songs that we'll sing, and mostly in Hebrew, and even if your Hebrew's rusty or non-existent, that's okay. You can hum along. You can have a go at the phonetic translation of the Hebrew. You can clap when we clap. However it moves you and you're comfortable to participate. You don't need to be a card-carrying Jew to participate, or even be a Jew who feels like you know a certain thing. Just whatever's in your heart, share it with us. And then within that space, like I said, be prayerful in your own way. There's insights and meditations in the prayer book that you can use as we go along that we may not be doing together, but they're there for you to utilize and to use in your prayerfulness. So we rabbis have a problem. We like to talk about things too much instead of doing them. So I'm going to stop talking about what we're going to do, and let's get to it. Let's do it. We're going to start with the words of an ancient psalm, which means a little bit more as we get to post-pandemic times. Hine ma tov, how good it is to be together. So if you can look on your supplement, the sheet that you took, and you might find some more contemporary music and words interspliced in these ancient words too. Hine ma tov, everyone.
Hine ma tov umanayim shevet achim gam yachad. Hine ma tov umanayim shevet achim gam yachad. Said I'm talking about one love. one heart. Say let's get together and feel alright. Sing about one love, talking about one heart. Give thanks and praise to the one, and we will feel alright. Singing, let's get together and feel alright. Whoa, 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 whoa. How good and pleasant, you know that it would be, brothers and sisters, to live in harmony. I said, how good and pleasant, don't you know that it would be, for brothers and sisters to live in harmony. Said I'm talking about one love, talking about one heart. Said let's get together, feel alright. What about the children? One love, talking about one heart. Give thanks and praise to the one, and we will feel alright. Singing, let's get together, feel alright. Ooh, give thanks and praise to the one, and we will feel alright. Let's get together and feel alright.
So now it's both my honor and privilege to invite our bar mitzvah to lead us in our prayers this morning. As he does, I'd like to invite Aaron Cohen, who has the honor of presenting with him with his talit.
Okay. Yes. Jonah, just a quick couple of words. This tallis is very special. It's in honor and memory of your grandma and granddad, and your great-granddad and Grammy, who couldn't be here today, but they're here in spirit. And this tallis is made with special clothing from all of them. They are here in spirit. They are wrapping you in their love and support with this tallis.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitchanu b'mitzvotah v'tzivanu lehitatef b'tzitzit.
Amen.
Love you. Proud of you.
Please continue with me on page 77. Don't let me fall as a stone falls upon the hard ground, and don't let my hands become dry as the twigs of a tree. When the wind beats down the last leaves, and when the storm raises dust from the earth with anger and howling, don't let me fall. I have asked for so much, but as a blade of your grass in a distant wild field, let's drop a seed in the lap of the earth and dies away. Sow in me your living breath as you sow a seed in the earth. Baruch atah Adonai rofei chol basar umafli lesot. Please continue with me on page 79. My soul came to me pure, drawn from the reservoir of the holy. All the time it remains with me. I'm thankful for its thirst, for compassion and justice. Let my eyes behold the beauty of all creatures. Let my hands know the privilege of righteous deeds. Baruch atah Adonai asher bado nefesh kol chai avruach kol basar ish. Please continue with me on page 80. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam Asher natan lezevi vina lahavhin ben yom uvein laila Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, pokeach ivrim. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, matir asurim. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, zokef kifufim. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, rokah haaretz al hamayim. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, hin mitzadei gaver. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, malbi sharumim. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, anoten laya ev koach. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, hama'avir shenai me'enai u'numa me'afapai. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, shasani b'tzelem Elohim. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, shasani ben chorin. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, shasani Yisrael. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, ozer Yisrael b'gvura. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, oter Yisrael b'tifara. Please continue with me on page 100.
Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. Hallelujah, El Bikocho. Hallelujah, Berkia Uzo. Hallelujah. Hallelujah, 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 take a shofar, hallelujah, never v'chino, hallelujah, tofu macho, hallelujah, meaning v'uga. Oh, hallelujah, 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 but silsile shama, hallelujah, but silsile chua, oh, hanshama, te hallelujah. Hallelujah, 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 oh hallelujah, 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 hallelujah.
Please continue with me on page 106. Yit gadal v'yit kadash me rabba ba'alma divrachirute v'yamlich malchute b'chayachon uv'yomachon uchaye decho be'Yisrael bagala bagala uvisman kariv v'imiru amen. Yehi shmei rabba mevarach la'alam ulam me'almaya yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yipa'ar v'yitnroman v'yitnaseh via hadar, via tale, via halal, shmediku chabrihu, le'ela, bin kol berchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechemata, da'amiran alma, v'imiru. Amen. Please continue to page 108 and rise for the Baruchu.
La la ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 Baruchu Hamivora Baruchu et Adonai Hamivora Baruch Adonai Hamevorach le'olam va'ed Baruch Adonai Hamevorach le'olam va'ed Ya la la ya la ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 la.
Please continue with me on page 111. You are praised, who rolls out the rough raw clay of the universe into delicate vessels of light, and from nothing at all, we could perceive in a world that has turned old a shimmering new creation right before our eyes, made this moment just for us. How much life reveals your presence, how much Torah unfolds in each new flower, from each new wave that breaks upon the sea. You are praised, who forms the clay that cloaks our lives, the delicate vessels which contain our light. Baruch atah Adonai Yotzer HaMe'orot. Please continue with me on page 113. Love your neighbor as yourself, you said. The light blinded we saw. Inner and outer worlds are one, as you are one. You spoke and we wrote. We reach for you down the centuries, your light moving before us. As we climbed, fell back, and climbed again, your Sinai of life. Baruch atah Adonai habocher bamo Yisrael bahava.
Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad 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 Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Leolam Va'ed Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Leolam Va'ed Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai
Please continue with me on page 116 and be seated. B'avta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levavcha u'b'chol nafshecha u'b'chol me'odecha v'hayu hadavarim ha'eleh asher anochi mitzocha hayom alevavecha vishinantam levanecha v'dibarta bam b'shivtecha b'veitecha uvlechtecha v'derech uvshokbecha uvkumecha ukshartam laot al yadecha v'hayu latotafot beinenecha uchtavtam lemizot beitecha uvisharecha Ma'an tizkru v'asitem et kol mitzvotai v'tem kedoshim lelohechem ani Adonai Elohechem asher tzetiechem eretz Mitzrayim liot lachem lelohim ani Adonai Elohechem. Please continue on page 123. The good in us will win over all the wickedness, over all the wrongs we have done. We will look back at the pages of written history and be amazed, and then we will laugh and sing. And the good in us, children in the cradles, will have won. Our hearts beat with certainty that there is a day and an hour and a mountain called Zion, and that all the suffering will gather there and become a song, ringing out in every corner of the earth, from end to end, and the nations will hear it, and like the caravans in the desert will all do that morning throng.
מי כמוך באים אדוני, מי כמוך נדר בקודש, נורא תהילות אוסף אלה, נורא תהילות אוסף אלה, יאללה בים בים בם, יאללה בים בם, יאללה בים בים בם, יאללה בים בם, יאללה לה לה לה, יאללה בים בם. La 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 la, ya la 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 dimba. Shira chadasha, shibachu ge'ulim. Shimcha asfahayam yachad kulam. Hodu v'himlechu ve'ameru Adonai himlo. Le'olam va'era ya la la bim bim bam, ya la la bim bam, ya la bim bim bam, ya la bim bam. La 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 la, la 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 bim bam, la 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 la, la 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 bim bam.
Please turn to page 124 and rise for the tefillah.
Ya la 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 Adonai. Ya la 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 sfatai tifta. Ya la 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 ufi agir. Ufi agir tehillatelecha. Ya la 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 Adonai. Ya la 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 sfatai tiftach. Ya la 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 ufi agir. Ufi
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu ve'Elohei Avotenu ve'Imotenu Elohei Avraham Elohei Yitzhak ve'Elohei Yaakov Elohei Sarah Elohei Rivka Elohei Rachel Elohei Leah Ha'el Hagadol Hagibor v'Hanorah El Elyon Gomer Chasadim Tovim V'Konei Hakol V'Zocher Hasnei Avot V'Imahot Umevi Gula Livnei V'Nehem L'Ma'an Shmo B'Ahava Melech Ozer U'Mashiach U'Magen Baruch atah Adonai Elohim Avraham V'Ezrat Sarah.
128.
Atah Gibor Le'olam Adonai Mechayei Hakol Atah Rav Lehoshia Mechakel Chayim B'Chesed Mechayei Hakol Rachamim Rabim Somech Noflim V'Rofech Olim Umatir Asurim Kayem Emunato Lishenei Afar Michamocha Bal Gevurot Umitomech Lach Melech Memit Chayeh Umatmi Yeshua Ne'emanata L'Hayot HaKol Baruch atah Adonai Mechayei HaKol.
Page 130.
Nekadesh et Shimcha ba'olam Shim Shemati Shimoto Bishmei Marum Takatuv al Yad Nuviecha Yekarazet Kadosh, 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 Adonai Tzevaot, Lochal haaretz, Kevodo, Adir, Adirenu, Adonai, Adonenu, Adir, Shimcha b'chol haaretz, Baruch Kevod Adonai Mimkomo Chagodoleinu Hu Avinu Hu Malkeinu Hu Moshienu V'Hu Yashbienu Berachamav Le'enei Kochai Ani Adonai Elohim Yimloch Adonai Le'olam Elohayach Tzion Dor Vador Hallelujah Ledor Adonai Lecha Ulenetzach Netzakim Kedushat Nahakish Racha Eloheinu Mipinu Lo Yamush Le'olam Va'ed Baruch atah Adonai Ha'el HaKadosh.
Please turn to page 132 and be seated.
V'shamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat la'asot et ha-Shabbat l'doratam b'rit olam. V'shamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat la'asot et ha-Shabbat l'doratam b'rit olam. B'nei B'nai Yisrael, oti le'olam, oti le'olam, v'shomeru b'nei Yisrael et ha'shabbat, la'asot et ha'shabbat le'toratam barit olam. Ki sheshet yamim asa Adonai, asa Adonai, et hashamayim ve'et haaretz v'shomeru v'nei Yisrael et hashabbat la'asot et hashabbat le'toratam barit olam. Uvayom hashvi'i Shabbat vayinafash, Shabbat vayinafash, Shabbat vayinafash, v'shameru b'nei Yisrael et ha'shabbat la'asot et ha'shabbat le'toratam barit olam.
Please continue through page 143 in silence.
Ose shalom bimnuma, hu yaseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'al kol yoshvei tevei. And I say everything is gonna be alright. 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 I say, oh, say shalom. Oh, say shalom. Ve'al kol yoshvei tevel. Oh, say
There's a story from our tradition that I think about sometimes as someone is becoming bar bat mitzvah. It's kind of a weirder story, but I think it's kind of cool. The story is about how each of us, before we're born into the world, before our souls ready to enter the world, we're hanging out and getting ready to go. And where we insert ourselves in the womb, in the fetus before we leave, and at that moment, we know everything. We get it all. We have perfect understanding of the world, how it works, what we need to do in it, and we're ready to go. But the moment before we leave, an angel swoops in and touches us right here. And the angel leaves a mark. We all have a mark under our nose right there. And with leaving that mark and that touch, we forget everything. Kind of a cosmic divine joke in a way, isn't it? But we enter in this world and we're pure and innocent without any of that knowledge. And what we do is we spend our lives, well, trying to remember what we've forgotten, trying to recapture what we know, what the world's about and our place in it. And when we first come in the world, though, it's a lot to handle on our own. And so we have guides. We have guides, human beings, spirits, souls themselves who've gone through this journey, who step up and guide us through, but they can't take us all the way. And so we all as human beings reach some point, and Jewishly, we take some time to acknowledgement, to say, okay, the responsibility, the opportunity to figure this out, it's more yours. It's on you. Those of us around community who love you and care about you, we're still here, but you got to take that accountability to figure this out, to remember, to understand the world and your place in it. And that's what we celebrate. That's what we acknowledge when someone becomes bar bat mitzvah. We're about to start the part of the service where maybe that symbolically happens. We give Jonah the Torah scroll. Because that kind of symbolically says, okay, it's on you. We actually put the scroll and its stories and all this tradition and wisdom on him. So we're about to get to that moment, but before we do that, it's our custom that before we get to that part, that we like to invite, well, maybe the most primary guides along the way, mom and dad, to share some of what they're thinking and feeling, what's on their minds and their hearts as Jonah makes this next step, next part of his journey into understanding and knowing himself and his place in the world. So I'd like to invite Kane and Mariah, who I think have prepared a lovely song and dance for Jonah, to express what they're thinking and feeling right now.
All right, Jonah, have you heard this one? So a Jewish guy walks into a bar, mitzvah. Okay, how about this one? Why is Poppy studying Hebrew? She's practicing for her bark mitzvah. Okay, so
Good try.
right about now, you're wishing that I was doing the interpretive dance that I was threatening. But I did write something. I have a lot I could say to you, but I'm going to keep it brief. And my jokes are done. I don't know if I could ever adequately express how much I love you. Being your mother is one of the greatest joys of my life. I also don't think I could express how very proud I am of you. And not just proud of you for today, but proud of the person that you are and the person that you're becoming. Jonah, you are so cool. You are funny and smart and creative and interesting. I love hearing all your new jokes and all your fun, interesting facts. I love watching you get excited by your latest interest and new information. And I have loved volunteering with you and seeing how excited and proud you are to be helping others. It's been particularly amazing watching you grow and learn these past months. You have gone from nervous and unsure that you could do this to confident and excited. So excited that you wish today was happening sooner. You've learned a lot this past year. Studying for your bar mitzvah over FaceTime and Zoom, while also spending 8 months in entirely remote school. While you may have learned less in traditional academic content, you learned many other important lessons about yourself and the world that I think will go with you for the rest of your life. Becoming a bar mitzvah is not about a single day. It's the experiences, practice, and learning that brought you here. You have learned to work hard in less than ideal conditions. You've learned how to study. And very importantly, you've learned if something is too much, you need to back off. But there's one lesson that I hope you take with you, and that is that you are capable. You are capable. You can do hard things. You can do things that make you nervous, that you're scared about, even if you're full of self-doubt. You have everything that you need to succeed right here. I love you so much.
Jonah, my boy,
No.
I'm very
No,
proud
no,
of
no,
you.
No, please.
Before I wish 3 blessings upon you, I would like to thank you. I made a promise to your grandma Sharon many years ago that I would keep Judaism alive in our family. And by you being here today and doing everything you've done, you've helped me keep that promise. So thank you. On that note, what you've done to get here, the grit that you have shown, it's an important characteristic in a person to have grit. And you, with grit, it will help take you far. It means you care, it means you can finish things. Another blessing I want for you is love. I know you know how to give it, and I know you know how to feel it. Look at all the people here, your mother and I, your sister, we love you. Franny and Pappy love you, your aunts and uncles love you, your teachers, your friends, they love you, and all your cousins, well, they're kind of fond of you. So you have that. The third one, you haven't found yet, and you're only 13, and you're starting a new beginning chapter of your life, and that's purpose. I hope you find purpose. And with purpose, grit, and love, you will have a meaningful life. I love you. Good luck.
So now we're ready to begin the Torah service. And as we do, a few of you will have honors during the Torah service. And just listen for me as far as direction, and I'll let you know what to do. So listen for your name. First, you can turn to page 244, which is where you'll find the song we'll sing just to get ready to take the scroll from the ark. After we take the scroll, we're gonna, as I said, we're gonna pass the Torah into Jonah's arms, and we do that Lador from generation to generation. There's a song we'll sing. You'll find in your supplement, and you may notice as Jonah and Mariah and Cain line up that there's some space. You may wonder, well, didn't they practice this choreography? And actually, we did quite purposely. That it's very important for Jonah and Mariah and Cain to leave space in that Torah pass for his birth parents. And so just imagine standing there with the 3 of them, Roland and Susanna, who are part of who Jonah is and his legacy too, as we pass the Torah to him. So we're now ready, so let's get to it. We'll I'll invite also Michael, Katie, Pat, and Patrick Angergame to come help me open the ark when we take the scroll. But we're on page 244 as we begin.
Ein kamocha v'Elohim Adonai, v'ein kemaasecha, malchutecha malchut kol olamim, umemshaltecha b'chol dor v'dor. Adonai malach, Adonai malach, Adonai yimloch leolam va'ed, Adonai os li'amo yitain, Adonai yivarech et amo v'shalom, av harachamim, היטיב אוויר צונך את ציון, תבנה חומות ירושלים, תבנה חומות ירושלים, כי בך לבד בטחנו, מלך העולם וניסה, אדון עולמים. כי מציון תצא תורה, כי מציון תצא תורה, ודבר אדוני מירושלים, ברוך שנתן תורה תורה, ברוך שנתן תורה תורה, לעמו ישראל בקדושתו. We are gifts and we are blessings, we are history in song. We are hope and we are healing, we are learning to be strong. We are words and we are stories, we are pictures of the past. We are carriers of wisdom, not the first and not the last. Dor vador nagid God lecha, dor vador we protect this chain, from generation to generation. Dor vador, these lips will praise your name. Eloheinu, Ado Adonenu, Ado Shemo. Al shlosha devarim, al shlosha devarim, al shlosha devarim, ha'olam omer ya la 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 la, al shlosha devarim. Shlosha devarim, al shlosha devarim, ha'olam omer. Al Torah ve'al avodah ve'al gemilut chasadim. Al Torah ve'al avodah ve'al gemilut chasadim.
Can I invite Eva Aldinger and
Shlosha devarim.
Torah Scroll?
Shlosha devarim, al shlosha devarim, ha'olam omer. Shlosha devarim, shlosha devarim, shlosha devarim, ha'olam omer. Lomemu Adonai Eloheinu v'ishtachavu lehar ha'kodsho. Romemu Adonai Eloheinu v'ishtachavu lehar ha'kodsho. Ki kadosh Adonai Eloheinu. Ki kadosh Adonai Eloheinu.
The Torah is full of stories. The Torah has different parts, and the different parts tell us about laws and more stories. The Torah is the most important document in Judaism. It is important because in general, it shows how God wants the Jews to live. The Torah consists of the 5 books of Moses: Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, and Deuteronomy. The Torah tells us about the beginning of the Jews and how they are enslaved in Egypt and how they escape. We read a little bit of the Torah each week until we finish it. I chose 3 parts from the portion of Be'at Le'otecha in the book of Numbers. The Israelites are in the desert, leaving Egypt behind them. They're going to be walking in this desert for 40 years, but it hasn't been determined. They don't know how long they're going to be in the desert. Our portion is about Jews having what they need to survive, but they still ask for more. They ask for meat. The Israelites have cattle, roosters, and hens they can eat for food. They wanted meat because it's good and they want it. The Israelites tell Moses, and Moses turns to God. God says he will give them meat, and when he does, everyone is happy. But then God kills the ones who ate the meat with a deadly plague. I chose this part because I think it tells us our actions have consequences and not to be greedy.
So as Jonah chants this portion from the scroll, a few of you will have honors around that. I'd like to invite Amy Cribble, who will be the gabbai who helps preside over the reading, and Amy's also been Jonah's tutor, helping him prepare for today. I also invite those of you who have an English translation of what he's going to read. You're going to do that from the microphone that's just to your right, to my left. And I'll invite you to, if you're not close, to come have a seat in one of the chairs near the microphone so you have easy access when your time is there. So I'd like to invite Aaron and Shelley Aldinger and Jennifer and Brian Angergame and Tom and Nancy Aldinger to come have a seat. And so you're ready for your translation. And we have the honor of blessing the first Aliyah, the first reading. We invite Aaron, Michael, and Isaac Cohen. Ya'amdu, Shoshana, Leah, V'Kalev, V'Nachum Baruch, Ben Meir, V'Ze'ev HaKohen, Umiriam, V'Yitzchak, Ben Chana, V'Nachum. Let's get your part.
Do we touch it? Mm-hmm. Okay. I'm using your doll. I'm going to use his doll.
Wait.
Baruch Adonai Hamurah.
Baruch Adonai Hamarach Le'olam Va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Havarach Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bahar banu mikol ha'amim natan lanu et Torato. Baruch Atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. Vayarat Hana'ar, Vayaged LeMoshe, Vayomar, Eldad Umedad, Mit Nabim Amahane, Vaya'an Yehoshua, Binun, Mesharetz Moshe, Mibchora Vayomar, Adoni Moshe Kila'ain, Vayomer Lo, Moshe Hamkane Atali, Umi Yitain, Kol Am Adonai Nivi'im Kitain Adonai, Et Rucho Alehem.
atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torah emet v'hayei olam nata b'tochenu Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
The lad ran and told Moses, saying, Eldad and Medad are prophesying in the camp. Joshua the son of Nun, Moses' servant from his youth, answered and said, Moses, my master, imprison them. Moses said to him, Are you zealous for my sake? If only all the Lord's people were prophets, that the Lord would bestow his Spirit upon them.
The honor of blessing the next reading belongs to Mariah and Cain. Ya'amdu Rivka Nachami Bat Shoshana Leah V'Calev V'Cain HaHorim.
Baruch et Adonai Hamvorah.
Baruch Adonai Hamvorach le'olam va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Hamvorach le'olam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bachar banu mikol hamim v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen.
Amen. Vayasef Moshe el hamahane hu v'ziknei Yisrael v'ruach nasa me'et Adonai vayagaz solvim min hayam vaytosh el hamahane kederech yom ko derech yom ko sevivot hamahane amatayim al pnei haaretz Vayakam ha'am kol hayom ha'hu v'chol ha'layla v'chol yom ha'macharatz vayasfu et haslav ha'mamitz asaf asarach ha'marim vayishtechu lachem shatoach sevivot ha'mahaneh.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torah emet v'hayei olam nata b'tochenu Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen.
Then Moses entered the camp, he and the elders of Israel.
A wind went forth from the Lord and swept quails from the sea and spread them over the camp, about 1 day's journey this way and 1 day's journey that way, around the camp, about 2 cubits above the ground.
The people rose up all that day and all that night and the next day and gathered the quails. Even the one who gathered the least collected 10 heaps. They spread them around the camp in piles.
The honor for blessing our final aliyah, our reading this morning, belongs to our bar mitzvah. Ya'amod Gershon Zev ben Rivka v'chein ha-bar mitzvah.
That's me. Baruch et Adonai Hamvorah.
Baruch Adonai Havarach le'olam va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Hamvorach le'olam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bachar banu mikol ha'amin v'na'atan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen.
Habasar otenu bein shinechem terem yikaretz va'af Adonai harava'am vayach Adonai bam makara ba'me'od vayikra et shem hamakom ahu kivro tata ava kisham kavru et ham hamitavim. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torah emet v'chayei olam nata b'tochenu Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen.
The meat was still between their teeth. It was not yet finished. And the anger of the Lord flared against the people, and the Lord struck the people with a very mighty blow.
He named that place Graves of Craving, for there they buried the people who craved.
So now we all get a look at the portion this morning. Even before pandemic, we did this in a COVID-friendly way. We have someone who has the honor of Hagba, who's going to raise the Torah and show it to all of us. So Michael Cohn has that honor this morning. I'd also like to invite Eva and Solomon back, who will have the honor of addressing the Torah, and then Eva's going to also share the translation of this morning's Haftorah portion. Would you all please rise as the Torah is raised?
Vezot HaTorah asher sam Moshe lifnei bnei Yisrael al pi Adonai v'yad Moshe. Yisrael, Yisrael v'yaharayt achadhu. Yisrael, Yisrael v'yaharayt achadhu. Yisrael, Yisrael, v'yaharayt achadhu. Yisrael, Yisrael, v'yaharayt achadhu. Torah ora, Torah ora, Torah ora, Hallelujah, Hallelujah. Torah ora, Torah ora, Hallelujah, Hallelujah. Torah ora, Torah ora, Hallelujah, Hallelujah. Torah ora, Torah ora, Hallelujah.
Most of the time, a Torah portion has a corresponding second little bit with it. This little bit is called Haftorah. Haftorah follows Torah readings on Shabbat and festivals. Generally, the Haftorah we get depends on our Torah portion and is chosen from the second part of the Tanakh. But Temple Micah has a tradition where we, B'nai Mitzvah, get the opportunity to choose our Haftorah from a book in the third part of the Tanakh. There are two books we can choose from, Proverbs and Ecclesiastes. I chose Proverbs over Ecclesiastes. The book of Proverbs is a book supposedly written by King Solomon. The book was probably written by somebody else, and then they gave credit to Solomon. King Solomon was known for his wisdom. The book might have been to promote this. Throughout the first 29 chapters, Solomon's name is mentioned. Maybe whoever wrote the book was trying to get it in our heads that he did write the book. I chose some of these verses because they startled me by how out of date they seem. But it's the book of Proverbs. They have meanings that might have been okay for the time, but if one were to say these right now, you would just sound really mean. An example is, a capable wife is a crown for her husband, but an incompetent one is like a rot in his bones. If I were King Solomon, I would not call this wisdom. To me, this verse encourages a husband to feel ashamed of his wife. If someone thinks of their partner in this way, how could they be partners at all? I also chose a few verses because they seemed very relevant to me in my life today. Most of them deal with the weak and the wicked and the generous and the evil. Some of them say if you are mean to the poor, it will come back in some way like karma. Or they say God will not help you if you are mean, but give you what you need if you really need it. One spoke to me about how laziness has its own consequences. This was, in winter, the lazy man does not plow. At harvest time, he seeks and finds nothing. I have experienced the struggle with laziness getting ready for today. My consequence was how it impacted the amount of time I had to prepare. But I've overcome this laziness because I'm here today doing my bar mitzvah. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech ha'olam asher bachar bin v'im tovim ratzah v'divrehem haneh emarim be'emet. Baruch atah Adonai habocher b'Torah uv'Moshe avdo uv'Yisrael almo uvin v'eh ha'emet v'tzedek. Eshet hayil ateret bala rakav ba'at motav mavisha.
A capable wife is a crown for her husband, but an incompetent one is like a root rot in his bones.
Mechorev atzel lo yarosh bakatzir vayin.
In winter, the lazy man does not plow. At harvest time, he seeks and finds nothing.
Gomel nafsho ish chased ve'ocher she'ero achzari.
A kindly man benefits himself. A cruel man makes trouble for himself.
Lo yarosh Adonai nefesh tzadik v'havat rishaim yadof.
The Eternal One will not let the righteous go hungry, but he denies the wicked what they crave.
Sifat emet tikon la'ad va'ad argia lashon shaker.
Truthful speech abides forever, a lying tongue for but a moment.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech ha'olam tzur kol ha'olamim tzadik b'chol hadorot ha'el ha'ne'eman ha'omer ve'oseh ha'medaber kayem shekol devarav emet v'tzedek al ha'torah v'al ha'avodah v'al hanvi'im v'al yom ha'shabbat hazeh shnatalanu Adonai Eloheinu Likdusha v'limnucha l'chavod utifaret. Al hakol Adonai Eloheinu anachnu modim lach. Varchim otach yitbarach shimcha b'fi kol chai tamid leolam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai mekadesh hashabbat.
So now we're almost ready to return the scroll to the ark. Before we do, we have a custom that involves each bar bat mitzvah. When the bar bat mitzvah reads from the Torah scroll, well, when anyone reads from the Torah scroll, we use an implement called a yad. Yad means hand in Hebrew, and it's basically a pointer that guides us along the text. But we have a special yad in our community that is only used by someone who becomes bar bat mitzvah. And then once she or he is done, they do a couple things. They first pass the yad along to the person who's next, and they also choose a quote that just reflects them and what they've experienced during this process or that represents them. And then that quote, that card, lives with the yad and becomes part of its legacy. So as Jonah shares his quote, I'd like to invite Ella Gaulis, who will become a bat mitzvah next week, to receive the yad from Jonah. So Jonah, share us the quote and pass the yad.
Life is like a bicycle. To keep your balance, you must keep moving. Albert Einstein.
Nice. So as we return the scroll to the ark, we turn to page 256. And I'd like to invite Jake, Luke, and Tatum Aldinger to help open the ark as we do. Would you please rise? Page 256.
It's Chaim hi, Mamachazikim ba, V'tomcheha meusha, Deracheha, Darchei Noah, V'chon netivoteha, Shalom, Hashivenu Adonai, Elecha v'nashuva, Kadesh, Kadesh Yameinu, Kadesh
I'll try my best. Before I do my Devar Torah, I want to say thanks to everyone who could make it in person, and an extremely special thanks to all my teachers, friends, and family who are attending on YouTube. To do my Devar Torah, I'm going to need your full attention. I hope I have had your full attention this whole time. You may have heard on the news about all the trash in our oceans, or maybe you read about it online or heard about it in school. But did you know the giant pile of trash in our ocean at its smallest is the size of Texas and can get to the size of the whole United States? And since I learned that exact piece of information, I look at the park near my house and think there's a whole lot of trash that needs to be picked up. Climate change is often pushed out of our heads because we think it's too much of a big problem for one to solve. But if I were to pick up that trash in my park, it could be something little to help out in a big problem. The big problem at hand is climate change, and with enough help, maybe there could be at least enough of it to put a bandage on our planet. Climate change is one of the things that is constantly on my mind. I think about it when I wake up until I go to bed. It is something that worries me and encourages me to help out. And there are consequences if we don't help, like an unhealthy planet, dying ecosystems, and if air pollution gets so bad, we might end up wearing masks constantly to filter out the air. So there are ways to help something that might look way too big to help, but it's a really good thing to try. In this morning's Torah portion, the Israelites have been wandering through the desert. Again, it has not been determined for how long they are wandering. They have came across a problem of food. They have been walking and have manna, and manna is a paste that they had filled with all the proteins they needed. So they had what they need, but they didn't want it. They felt really overwhelmed. They probably had the right to feel overwhelmed. They were in a giant desert, all of it's unfamiliar to them, and they still have a really long way to go. They feel they were too small to help, so they complained. The Israelites feel overwhelmed when looking at the wilderness, and we feel overwhelmed when looking at the problem of climate change. Like the Israelites, we have the resources, but unlike them, we should use them. Recently, I have been looking for some place I can help, and I've came across an organization called We Don't Waste. And when I volunteered, I felt good and like I had achieved something. There are some little things you could do to help out as well. I have definitely learned the lesson that we do, in fact, have the resources to solve a big problem by working with the We Don't Waste organization, where I help pack food from restaurants, farms, and other kitchens. Again, this made me feel really good about myself. This helps out with climate change by not wasting food, because there are 35.3 million tons of food waste in our landfills. There are things that you could do as well, such as volunteering, like I did, or try not to waste as much food. But if you do not feel like volunteering, you could just donate instead, or you could ride your bike to school or work. If you do these things, I hope you can feel as good as I did when doing that. This all can affect the way I see myself as an adult. A bar mitzvah is about bat mitzvah is about becoming an adult. So when I see myself as an adult, I see myself helping out and encouraging others to help out too. We may have the giant pile of trash the size of Texas and the ocean, but we also have the resources to fix our problem of climate change. I can help out, and I hope this speech of mine encourages you to help out too.
So not maybe you'll get us to do a little more work to help the world, but I am confident that charge, can you hear the rustle? They're getting ready.
Yeah, I can.
You can.
It's worrying me.
Because your message and your spirit and all the time you put in to create this this community for us this morning has been special to us, and we want to say thank you. So we're going to throw stuff at you. So you have some sweetness in your hands. Jonah is going to walk up and down the aisle, so when he's near you, by way your first official expression of appreciation for him, gently toss that his way as we say, Mazel Tov. Congratulations.
Simen tov, mazel tov, mazel tov, simen tov, mazel tov, mazel tov, simen tov, mazel tov, simen tov, Yahelanu, 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 Ulecho Yisrael, Yahelanu, Yahelanu, Ulecho Yisrael. Yahelanu, Yahelanu, Ulecho Yisrael. Yahelanu, Yahelanu, Ulecho Yisrael. One more time. Simen tov, mazel tov, simen tov, mazel tov, simen tov, mazel tov, simen tov, Yahelanu.
Walk there is so you don't come close to hitting me. So, out there, okay, here, not okay. So I'd like to invite Nicole Myers, who's representing our entire Micah Synagogue community, who's going to present a couple reminders and mementos from today to Jonah on behalf of all of us.
Jonah. I am so happy to get to come up here today and talk to you as a representative of our congregation of Temple Micah, but also as a family friend who has known you just about your whole life. And in both capacities, I am so proud of you. And I know we've heard that your family and friends are proud of you, and the congregation is proud of you. We know how hard it was to prepare for this day, but you did it. You did all the work you needed to do to lead your service so beautifully. So on behalf of Temple Micah, I would like to give you a Tanakh and a certificate to make it official that we hope you will use along the next steps of your Jewish journey.
Thank you so much.
Mazel tov.
So, a lot of cool things are happening, but something cool happened as we were going through the service. And I was thinking about this moment, because I got to say, what am I going to say to you from the Torah portion, yada, yada, yada. And the last couple weeks, you have been really curious. We've been curious about the whole process. We do different things, but particularly about the manna that's in your portion. Like, what is this stuff? And we kind of came up with a definition, like some pasty protein thing that the people ate. And that worked for the speech. But I was just looking more about what it is. And what I found, actually, I didn't really pay attention to what you said in your Devar Torah and what your mom said to you about you. It all kind of clicked together like a puzzle. Because, basically, what you said about the Israelites was, yeah, lots of overwhelming things happening, but you've got what you need to deal with it. Your mom said to you, her last thing was, you can do this. You are capable. You have what you need. And as I studied a bit about the manna, that was the answer to manna. Now, of course, there were some answers about what particularly was this stuff. Like some of the rabbis said it was like cream, which I don't know how that works in the wilderness. Some said it was kind of like snowflakey stuff, and so it was flakes that they ate. Others said not only that, but to them it was so kind of magical that it didn't like just taste like nothing, that it tasted like their favorite food. So like some of the sages list the things that the manna may have taken. Like when I read it, mostly when they were trying to explain what it was physically, they were kind of making stuff up basically, because they didn't know. It was this kind of magical thing. And then I realized, wait a minute, we read Torah. We don't read Torah as a historical book like this stuff happened. It's a spiritual book. It's not speaking to what food they gave their bodies. It's speaking to how they nourished their souls. And then in that frame of mind, I came across a sage who said exactly that the manna was, in the context of the story, perfect. It was exactly what they needed. It was there, it was abundant, and it was exactly what they needed. And the comment, the insight said was that it's not a story about the food they gave their bodies, it's that spiritually, we have what we need. Now, if you believe that comes from a deity, a God somehow, okay, and that fits your theology, that's okay. Or if you just want to have the leap or understanding or possibility that the way our souls are constructed is that we've got what we need. And what happens, almost like the story I told at the start of the Torah service, is that we forget. Maybe that's part of being human, because there's lots of things out there that scare us, that makes us anxious, that seem too big, that seem like Texas-sized pieces of garbage, and make us want to feel scared and reactive and not believe in ourselves. And I think the story in the Torah, the purpose of the manna, is to remind us of, no, you've got what you need. I mean, what evidence did the people need? They had escaped from Egypt with all these miracles. They spoke to God at Sinai. They saw the sea split. Hello, they still didn't get that they still have what they need. And maybe that's the same message for us and for you, specifically, but anyone who's starting to become an adult. As a prospect of becoming an adult, oh my goodness, what's next? I got to go find a job and live a life and figure out the world. And yeah, it's scary. It's unknown, and it's okay, because that's how it is. And you got the manna. You got the stuff of what you need. You don't have to figure that out by yourself, though. You have people who love you. You have communities who will stand with you and help you figure that out. You have a wisdom tradition to help you lean into to also help that too. You're not expected to remember yourself. You're not expected to get the manna and gather it yourself, but you're supposed to remember and have faith that you've got it. And so I'm just echoing wiser words than mine. The sage I found in our tradition, your mom, you. You've got this. And take it and run with it. And become the person who, part of the person who you are and part of the person who you're meant to be. I hope that journey is fulfilling, fun, meaningful, challenging, and successful. Amen. Would you all please rise as, in addition to my own sentiments for Jonah, I also get to bless him with the ancient words of the priestly benediction. I'm just showing you God, right? Yevarechecha Adonai v'yishmerecha. May God always bless you and keep you. Ye'er Adonai panav elecha v'yichunecha. May the light of what God is always shine upon you and be gracious to you. Yisa Adonai panav elecha v'yasem lecha shalom. As that light shines, may it be so bright that you know in your heart and in your home and in the world the most precious blessing of all, wholeness, integrity, peace. Amen. So we begin our concluding prayers now. Would you please remain standing? What we'll sing as part of our Alenu is a call and response. If you want, you can find the words. I haven't done this in a while, so I'm doing this off the top of my head. But it's call and response. So Hal's going to lead us through with these words from Alenu, the beginning of these closing prayers.
Hashevota El levavecha Ki Adonai Hu HaElohim Hu HaElohim Ne'emar Haya Adonai Lemelech Al Kol Haaretz Bayom Bayom Hahu Yeh Adonai Echad Ushemo
Please remain standing and turn to page 294. Always part of our closing prayers when we gather is a time to remember those who have died and to be supportive of each other as we do that remembering. So I'm going to start by sharing the names of people in our community whose yahrzeits are being observed this week. Barbara Goldman and Douglas Harris. And add to those names of people who are near and dear to Jonah and his family. Clifford and Inez Doutet, and Sharon and Carl Myers. And then ask you, if you want, to take a moment to share the name of anyone else who you're thinking of. It may be a recent death, a yahrzeit, or it doesn't matter. Whatever reason is a legitimate reason that you're thinking of missing someone you love. So if you'd like, either to yourself or aloud, please share the name of anyone you're thinking of and remembering this morning. We join together on page 294. Yitgadal v'yitgadash shmei Rabbah, v'yalma divrach yirutei v'yamlich malchutei, v'chayechon uv'yomechon uv'chaye dechol beit Yisrael, v'agalau v'zman kari v'imru amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah mevarach le'olam olamei almaya, yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh, v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yithalal shmei dekudesha b'richu. Li'elam in kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechemata, tamiram bi'alma v'imru amen. Yehei shalama rabba min shemaya, v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav, hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. And as we remember our loved ones, may that memory bring us some comfort, some peace, and may we share that comfort and peace with those around us who also walk that same path of grief and mourning. And we all say, Amen. So please be seated, except for Mariah and Eva and Kane. Would you join Jonah up here? You turn back to your supplement. And on the third page, you'll find the song that almost wraps us up. One Day by the Jewish reggae artist Matisha.
Sometimes I lay under the moon and I thank God I'm breathing. Then I pray, don't take me soon, 'cause I am here for a reason. Sometimes in my tears I drown, but I never let it get me down. So when negativity surrounds, I know someday it'll all turn around, because all my life I've been waiting for, I've been praying for the people to say that we don't want to fight no more. There'll be no more war, and our children will play. One day, one day, one day, one day, one day, one day. One day this all will change, treat people the same. Stop with the violence, down with the hate. One day we'll all be free and proud to be under the same song, singing songs of freedom, like one day, one day, one day, one day, one day, one day, one day.
So we're going to end as Jonah leads us in sanctifying this holy day as we say, Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri hagafen. L'chaim.
Yeah,
I told you. And as we finish with one more blessing, and after we do, Jonah and his family are going to walk out to the church calls the sanctuary parlor area, and we can all follow them out. So please grab your books and help us take those out as well. But we end our morning with a blessing called Shakhyanu that simply means blessed are you, who's the source of all life and enables us to be here and be present and experience magical, special, precious moments like this one.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, Shakhyanu v'kimanu v'higiyanu lazman hazeh. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, Shakhyanu v'kimanu v'higiyanu lazman hazeh.
Shabbat Shalom, everyone, and Mazel Tov.
Bim bam, bim 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 bam, bim 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 bam, ya la 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 bim bam, bim 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 bam, bim 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 bam. Shabbat Shalom, hey Shabbat Shalom, woo! Shabbat 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 Shalom, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat 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 Shalom, Shabbat 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 Shalom, Shabbat 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 Shalom, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat 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 Shalom.